I'm Dr. Tracy Steckler, and welcome to the Choosing Help podcast. Choosing Help presents conversations about courage, connection, and the transformative power of asking for support. Through candid discussions, expert insights, and real-world stories, this podcast breaks down stigma and opens doors to understanding. Join our community committed to compassion and courage. Because when we choose help, we choose life. I'm Dr. Tracy Steckler, and I'm joined today by Don Mann. Don is a retired United States Navy SEAL veteran, and he served on 3 SEAL teams, 1, 2, and 6. He's also authored 20 books, has been on multiple television shows and hosted some of them, and is an elite athlete, including running 2 Ironman triathlons in one day, which is just an amazing feat that he did that. His most recent book is called The Navy SEAL Playbook, and that's what we're going to really focus on today, is that his recent book, which outlines the core principles and strategies that are used for Navy SEAL training. They're really something, these core principles are principles that all of us can use in our daily lives. All of us can use to achieve our goals. But as he outlines in his book, for the Navy SEAL, it's a matter of life or death to follow these principles. It's a matter of mission success. And so, how much that applies to maybe daily life, that's up for an individual to decide. But for some of their missions, it was critical that every SEAL member follows each one of these principles to the T. And so let's go ahead and talk about some of them. I would like to give you an opportunity to outline some of them. And then after that, I kind of wanted to focus on one of them in particular, if that's okay.
Oh, sure thing, Tracy. Thanks for having me on your show. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's an honor for you to be here.
Thanks. Well, the Navy SEAL playbook, when Andrew and I first started talking about it, I was thinking it's perfect timing. It's a great idea. I don't think there's anything else out like it right now. But I was working with some banks, and what I was doing is these bank institutions, they're in Texas and Minnesota and Minneapolis. They're all over the country, but I would they wanted to know what SEAL principles or practices or ethos that we
Mhm.
had in the SEAL community that could maybe help the banking community.
Yeah.
So the West Coast Commodore, the highest ranking SEAL in the Navy on the West Coast, he put together a program. He was running it, and then he retired, and then I was asked to fill in. And I was a little shocked really that civilian corporations and civilian companies I didn't know what I was about to teach them or show them because
Yeah.
in the SEAL community, it's almost common sense. But outside the SEAL community, some of it's there and some's not. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying it's the perfect plan at
Yeah.
all because the SEAL communities, they're always under a lot of stress and a lot of it works a lot of the time, but none of it works all the time, you know.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
but it does. The biggest thing is a commitment. You get these guys, they go through all this hardcore training called buds, and
Yeah.
then they are on a SEAL team and they're committed to, with their lives, and they
Yeah.
commit their lives to the team. They're there for their buddies' lives, and everything they do is for the SEAL team. So the
Mhm.
first principle really is a commitment. And some days, some years you're gone 300 days out of the year.
Mhm.
And so that commitment, I mean, a lot of the guys are family guys, and you hear that, wow, we're gone 300 days a year. I've got a wife and I've got kids back at home, and I see them about 60 days a year. And I
Yeah.
love my family, but I am so committed to this job. And
Yeah.
that's the type of people you're with in a SEAL community. And I should apologize right up front that I'll talk about the SEAL community, but I really mean all the services. It's
Yeah.
not SEAL only, but I can talk about the SEAL community specifically. And then so there's the commitment to the team, commitment to your swim buddy, commitment to your platoon or your squad,
Hmm.
And then the next thing is accountability.
Hmm.
We never ever are allowed, or does any, it's not allowed in the community to make excuses. Well, I didn't do this because of this. I was late for this reason. There's no excuses. I mean, you have to be accountable for
Right.
everything you do and everybody who's under you.
Yeah.
And the people you're in charge of, if one of those guys make a mistake, or ladies, because there's women in the community now, they don't go through buds and they're not SEALs, but we work with a lot of women.
Hmm.
If somebody makes a terrible mistake,
Hmm.
that leader comes up, talks to the commanding officer, and takes the blame. And
Hmm.
it's the accountability. So everybody has to be accountable to to themselves and to their own actions.
Hmm.
And if something really goes bad, which happens in war, and it happens in this high-end training, it
Right.
happens often actually. People get killed who shouldn't be killed. And
Right.
so it's really, really intense. But then a leader would stand up and the leader would step up to his superior saying, this was my fault. I should have done this instead. And that accountability makes a team a team. We never point fingers and blame anybody, but we do take ownership. We're harder on ourselves than the other guys would be on us. And that accountability really means a lot in the community.
It's
If
key.
somebody, I'm sorry,
I was going to say, so that accountability is really key to mission success as a team.
it is. And if somebody started blaming teammates or
Yeah.
saying, well, you didn't do this, I didn't have this gear, that guy wouldn't survive in the team. He would be gone. He would be gone.
Hmm. Hmm.
So those,
I was gonna ask that. If a teammate is not holding their own, what happens to them? So they're transferred to someplace else. Is that essentially what happens?
you know, a lot of the times that is what
Hmm.
happens. But uh, okay, so and I'm kind of a soft heart when it comes to this because guys do make mistakes.
Sure.
But if you had a young guy who's say 19 years old or 18 years old, and he goes through boot camp and then BUDS, basic underwater demolition SEAL training, and he did this in 2000, the year
Hmm.
2000,
Hmm.
and then he goes through BUDS and he makes it, then he goes to a SEAL team and he stays in for 20 years, which most guys do.
Okay.
His whole life he's been at war.
Yeah.
And so we've never had that in the United States before, where a person's whole life is at war. And that sounds bad, but the worst part is you've had so many friends killed. You've probably been hurt yourself. You've killed a lot of people.
Hmm.
And what that does to the psyche and the human mind and the soul, it tears people up.
Hmm.
But team guys, we call them team guys. Team guys don't like to say, I need some help, I need a break, I need a vacation. It's not in them to do that. So
Yeah.
they hide this and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And sometimes it explodes. And I have two great friends. I think the world of them. They're incredible SEALs. In my view, we didn't do much in my generation compared to what they're doing nowadays.
Hmm.
But these two guys both live in cars still because they can't be around people. And when
Yeah.
they go to the doctors, when they go to the medical facility, they'll stand against the wall so shrapnel doesn't come through the window or a sniper doesn't get them. And they're scared to death still
Yeah.
after all these years. So it really does things to some of, I think it does something negative to a lot of the guys, but
Yeah.
really affects some of the guys in a bad way, to the point of the suicides and it's tough on people.
Yeah. My focus has actually been on getting those guys to treatment. Most of my work has been done with veterans, and I do know of several people that you're talking about who've had a similar reaction to their experiences. The trust is just broken down. They do not feel safe anywhere and are very unlikely to come in for help. And so working with them to help them reconsider that thought has been a lot, much of my career. And while I was reading your book, I was thinking about that because it comes up quite a bit. And this was the one principle that I wanted to talk to you about. It was the growth through discomfort. So that discomfort, that's pretty much where I see a lot of people break down. There are people who do not want to ever feel uncomfortable. Those people are not Navy SEALs, by the way. If somebody doesn't want to feel uncomfortable, they're probably not signing up for the military at all because you're going to be challenged in that way. But a lot of people don't want to feel uncomfortable at all in their life, and have been able to avoid discomfort, and so that they're not challenging themselves to grow, and so that's one place where things break down. The other one is what you just mentioned. There's been so much discomfort that a new level of discomfort or rising through it in a different way is impossible. They're almost stuck in their discomfort, and that can be limiting as well. And so, talking with them just about that, about the idea that it's a different kind of discomfort, but the goal is to become free of some of the discomfort that they're holding on to now. So it's like working through it. I think of it as like scar tissue, breaking down that scar tissue to move through it. But they're so used to that scar tissue, they're almost holding on to it.
Well, that's incredible. And the work you're doing, my God. I mean, thank God there's you and there's people who do the things you do because these people need so much help. And thanks so
Yeah.
much for what you do for the veterans and other people too, of course. But
Well, thank you for what you do.
oh,
You
thanks.
save all of our lives.
Oh, the when I mentioned in the book growth through discomfort,
Yeah.
I love how you worded that because a lot of people don't like being uncomfortable.
Right, right.
That's such a strange thing for me to even picture somebody just wanting to sit in a little safe bubble like him. I mean, why not just stay in the womb, you know? I mean, I don't get that at all. But I guess if you did just want to be on a couch and maybe not do anything, you'll never reach your full potential in any
Never.
ever. I'm
Correct.
not even a part of your potential.
That's
You'll
correct.
And Tracy, when I guess I could back up. When I got out of the teams, I went to the CIA for 25 years, so it wasn't an abrupt change because I
Okay.
still work with the team guys and go in all the bad spots and things. So I
Hmm.
like that, and I also like the endurance sports. So I always had the sports and either SEALs or CIA. So I always had the two in my life, and that's what I need to feel normal. And
Yes.
I still love it. I still love it.
Yeah.
But I think when I got out of the teams, um, you're around all these hardcore motivated people. Then you get out and you're around the civilian population and you're thinking, so what do you do? Anything else? You wonder. But I thought the people set the goals low. They set them low,
Mhm.
meet those low set goals, and they go home and they're happy with making those little low set goals.
Yeah.
Doing talks. I do talks around the country, and I talk about this, and I have a pyramid. And so the low set goals are easy to set, and that's sitting back in your comfort zone and just being comfortable. And to
Hmm.
go out and to go out of your little box, there's discomfort.
Hmm.
How far you want to go, it's how much discomfort there is.
Hmm.
And you know this better than anybody, but I look at guys like Reinhold Messner, the greatest climber in the world. And Reinhold Messner, he's climbed the tallest peaks in the world. He's done Everest without oxygen, the first one. He did Everest solo, and if and I've done over 1,000 competitions. But if I showed Reinhold Messner my list of competitions, he'd
Yeah.
probably smile and goes, "Yeah, yeah, you like running around the park? That's fine." But what I do, I get that backpack there and I put it on. I go climb a mountain. It's never been climbed before, maybe the north side of the mountain. And I go alone without oxygen, and I tell my friends and family I should be back in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the epitome of reaching way, way down inside, going way outside your comfort zone. But
Hmm.
and I always look at him as an example because, well, for one, I think we all have that in us to
Yes.
tap way in there, but he does it, and most
Yeah.
people don't even try. And
Yeah.
you see him sometimes and he looks like a bum, but right now that's because he's always so worn out and beat up. But that he'll get out of his worn down phase after one of these, 2-month climbs, and he'll have done something that nobody in the world has ever done.
Yeah.
Now his title is not only the greatest climber in the world, now he's being recognized as most likely the greatest climber the world will ever know.
Wow.
He does know how to tap into these things.
Yeah.
And I think he's just a human. I'm just a human. We're all just humans. If he has that, we all
Yeah.
have to some degree.
Yes.
Those people who just barely reach those goals, I feel bad for them because they're just wasting their whole life, I think.
Well, I think it's a good opportunity. So in this book, you also talk about growth as opportunities, discomfort as opportunities. And if you are averse to feeling uncomfortable and just don't ever want to feel that way, it is kind of sad because you don't give yourself that opportunity to learn that on the other side of that discomfort is kind of everything. So I was the person, I was a marathon runner for a long time. I was the person just running around the park. But you do learn in marathons or any sort of challenge like that, that the brain lies to yourself. That our brains tell ourselves lies all the time. And the lies go something like this. This is dumb, you should stop. This doesn't feel good. You're gonna die. I mean, you hear a lot of people with anxiety. I can't make this phone call or I can't go to that event because I'll be too anxious. They are literally telling themselves they're going to die at something that is literally not going to kill them. So they never let testing whether or not it's true. So for me, I had one marathon in particular. I hit that wall. I just hit the wall, and my brain was telling me very loudly, "You have no more gas in the tank. You can't go anymore. You should stop." And I kept going anyway. I didn't feel good for about a mile, kept going anyway. And then at the end of whatever time it was that my body needed to knock it off with the lies, I suddenly felt good again. I I wasn't telling myself I didn't have any gas in the tank because suddenly I had gas in the tank. I don't know where it came from, but it was really just a limitation that my own brain was sending down. It wasn't accurate fact. When I finished the marathon, I could have kept running. It wasn't fact. So we're using marathons or some sort of physical
Yeah.
competition to explain this, but it's also true in your personal life. If somebody doesn't like public speaking and they say, if I have to get in front of a crowd, I'll die. My heart will beat out of my chest and I'll literally have a heart attack and die. The chances are good that's not true, but they're telling themselves that. And then out of fear, they don't test it. And testing it is exactly what it sounds like Navy SEAL training was, a lot of testing whether some of the thoughts were true. And so if they weren't true, you were going to survive and you could achieve a level of calmness and clarity, then you can make great decisions or better decisions in the state of crisis or in the state of panic or in the state of uh, life or death, which is a good thing to know as a human. I would want to know that in the heat of the moment, I could think clearly. I would definitely want to know that.
Yeah, boy, exactly. And you with that knowledge and being a marathon runner, you knew you were being lied to and you just didn't pay attention to that and you kept going. Then you felt like you could keep going. And
Yeah,
then that feeling you get with that runner's high or whatever
yeah,
you want to call it, just no matter how bad it's feeling, you get past that 16, 18 mile mark, whatever
yeah,
the wall comes,
yeah,
cross the finish line, and that feeling can't be beat. And it's
yeah.
going through
Look
that
at
little
that.
while, I thought.
Yeah, yeah. Look at that. You look at what you can accomplish. But more importantly, look at how deceitful your own brain is to
Yeah.
you. So thinking about people who have addiction, for example, they're telling themselves they can't survive without their drug of choice. Lots of people overcome addiction. Some of the veterans that I've worked with are telling themselves, it's not okay to ask for help. I was told not to ask for help. I was told to be strong. I was told to handle it on my own, which I know is not a true story. But they've told themselves over time that they can handle things on their own. Nothing I ever heard about military training was handle everything on your own. In fact, it's just the opposite. Yeah, rely on your team, go to the experts, get more data, get more information.
And in the SEAL teams, it works really well because you have what's called a swim partner.
Uh-huh.
Everything about your life, your swim partner knows, and training, if that guy goes behind a tree to use a bathroom, you have to go with him. You can't let your swim buddy alone. You always
Uh-huh.
have to be with your swim buddy, and you swim
Uh-huh.
with them, and you're doing everything else with them. But we call it a swim buddy. And the way it's set up, because everybody has some sort of emotional problems at some point or physical, but
Yeah.
if you can just offload that to your swim buddy and not have that ego in the way, like I'm weak or I'm feeling weak, because
Mhm.
if you can realize that we all have problems, we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, but if you
Mhm.
can get to the basis of what the problems are and being able to talk to your swim buddy and trust that person and vice versa, it works really well in the battlefield because you're trusting them with your life. So you should be able to back off and just be able to talk and talk through your problems. We've had some terrible situations in the SEAL teams recently where it made the news, and then if somebody goes overseas, and you may have heard this one story where a SEAL had killed a terrorist who was on the ground. And you may
Okay.
have heard that. And his platoon was complaining about him. And President Trump got him off, and it was a big, big deal for a while. But the problem where that became a problem is it went to national news and went up to the president's level. That
Mhm.
was all a big, big, big mistake because all that had to have happened is he would talk to his buddy, say, I
Mhm.
am having some problems here. I'm having some problems. And then at the most, then they go up, to, you have a platoon chief. He might be in charge of 30 people. Say, Chief, we have something to tell you about. My buddy's having some problems. He's right here. He
Mhm.
wants to talk about. I don't think he should be deploying. And
Mhm.
that's the way it works in the teams. That's the way it should work. It doesn't always work that way, but the
Yeah.
system's there for it to work. So you don't get to the point like I'm a big macho guy and I don't have any problems because that's fantasy. Everybody does. And you
Yeah.
have to be able to talk to somebody and or terrible things can happen. And in the SEAL
Yeah.
community, it's different than the civilian community, but the principles are still there. If you're a banker, and you have problems at home, you should be able to trust somebody and
Mhm.
leave the ego at the door. And as
Mhm.
we all say, and I think that practice works real well when it works.
Yeah, it's like the whole concept, we're not solitary beings. We're connected beings. So even in the military, you do have a team. You have a teammate, you have a team. Um, Same is true outside of the military. We're just not designed to be solitary beings, and things can get pretty confusing when we're disconnected, either disconnected from our own selves or disconnected from others or disconnected from that big picture. That can be a really a place of loss, and disconnection, obviously. And so one option that's available is connect with anybody in your environment who you can relate to, who you can trust. As long as there's one person in your environment you can trust, important to talk with them. Just connect with them. Probably they're probably not going to judge you. They're probably just going to
Right.
listen, right?
Right.
If you need professional help, there's a whole bunch of people who are willing to sit and listen, to offer some suggestions, some guidelines. There's evidence-based treatments. There's treatments that we know work, and there's lots of options. So if people know a certain type of approach might work best with them, then let's do that approach. You talked about equine therapy before we started this podcast. Being in nature, being with animals, being in the water, doing sports. Those are approaches that many people find healing. They're connecting with their body, they're connecting with others, they're connecting with the big picture, and they find that is a source of healing for them. We're all for it.
Yeah.
Just,
And I think, like for me, it's sports and music. Uh,
uh-huh.
if I need some time or just a break, I'll go for a run or whatever, something
Yeah.
sports related, and or listen to the music I like. Those two
Yeah.
things just make me so relaxed and
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
And so I don't
Same.
care what's going on with the rest of the world. If it's some music, I'm good.
Yeah. It's almost it's almost a time to meditate, right? It really is just connecting with yourself again and kind of the big picture.
Yeah.
And
And
maybe other, I guess maybe also the singer, the
yeah,
music.
yeah, right. But it's nice, I think, the way you said that too, because if somebody can identify what makes them happy, where their happy place is, it might not be sport, maybe it's something else, but
Mhm.
whatever it is, if they can identify with that and know to escape to that when they need it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. One of your principles, I laughed at this. I'll just tell you. I loved it. I did love it and I laughed. One of the core principles was to surround yourself with excellence. So make sure you're connecting with people who are also challenging themselves, who are also excelling, who are also trying to grow, who approach discomfort with a healthy attitude, like, hey, maybe I'll learn something, who look at the world as opportunities instead of um, something to fear. And in that chapter, surround yourself with excellence. You had a sentence that said, "Do not surround yourself with those who allow you to coast." I thought that was really interesting. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to say more about that because we all have people that they cheer us on, whether we are just sitting on the couch.
Yeah, yeah.
Letting us coast a little. But I was curious what your thoughts were on that.
Well, that is one of my favorite parts of the book as well. Mainly because even going back to childhood, you have good kids you can hang out with, or you could have the
Yeah,
bad kids. And
yeah,
if you choose the bad kids, you could start getting a little bit down that road, and you might not be as bad as them, but you're still surrounded by them, and
yeah,
comparing yourself is, I'm really not that bad compared to them. But if you were with the good kids, then you say you want to strive to be like them.
yeah.
And in the teams, it's easy. It's easy because although it's all relative, because you're surrounded by solid, hardcore people.
Hmm.
But it's still relative because some go up to be admirals and they were like really high achievers, and others stay and they retire maybe a lot lower rank and maybe some disciplinary. And
Hmm.
even in a high speed community like the SEAL teams, it's still relative. In the
Yeah,
community, you want to go with those guys who do everything right and strive for perfection. And and you're still in the SEAL teams, but if you hung out with these guys here, like going out drinking instead at night and
yeah,
partying and more so than focusing on the work, it's still gonna hold you back. Where you
yeah,
just change your circle to people who might be doing a lot better than you are in their career, people who are more successful, people who are better shooters or better jumpers or better
yeah.
divers, to be with them and try to be more like them. I
We'll
think,
learn from them if nothing else, right? Because
yeah,
they seem to know something that you don't quite know yet. So it's an opportunity for learning.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and some of these principles in the book, I wish I knew them earlier in life. It took
Hmm.
a time to for
Hmm.
me to accept them, but that's one for sure. I wish I wish I followed that advice earlier on.
So I asked you earlier, what was your favorite one? And you said commitment and accountability. Is there another one you think should get a shout out right now?
Um, Not to be afraid of growth and
Yeah,
to break out of the comfort zone. I would say
yeah,
that's probably and not to have excuses, never have excuses. Like, you
yeah,
just take accountability and then, okay, boy, I really messed up. I got to do it again. And not to ever give up. We never can give up.
yeah,
But
yeah. Failing is okay. It's just an opportunity to try again, right?
I went to the Naval Academy for a graduation. I did a talk there, and the Secretary of the Navy came out and he spoke. All he talked about, his whole talk was allow your people to fail.
Uh-huh.
It's the first time I've really heard that talk. And he said, commanders, admirals, captains, allow your people to fail because if not, they're going to again stay isolated and feel comfortable and not break their boundaries. So
Hmm.
allow them to fail, not to something where catastrophic can happen, but allow
Yeah.
them and push themselves to failure. And
Yeah.
then come back a little bit, figure out what went wrong, and push again and
Yeah.
keep pushing and keep pushing and pushing. And that was the greatest talk I ever heard on allowing yourself to fail and
Yeah.
allowing others to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important because you do learn what doesn't work. And it's all about options. So if that doesn't work, then what options are available that might work? Because you're still looking for the option for success, right? So that's that focus on success.
Yep. And what we do,
Wow.
and what we did, and they still do in the teams, is we write standard operating procedures, SOPs,
Hmm.
and we call our SOPs that they're written in blood. And the reason we say that, if somebody gets hurt or worse, doing a
Hmm.
training mission or doing a tactics or a technique or procedure that caused something to go bad, we go
Hmm.
right back to the drawing board. We all discuss it. What could have been done better?
Hmm.
Okay, let's do it this way instead. Then we write a standard operating procedure. Okay, from now on, when we do that particular training or mission, we're doing it this way. And
Yeah.
so, and there's always failures, and which isn't bad. And then we just bring them back to, and like you just said, it allows for growth. And
Yeah.
failures do allow for growth. And then we just get better and better and better through failing. If we did everything perfect all the time,
Life
then
would
we
be
have no
boring.
growth. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there really isn't there's no evidence that anybody got through life perfectly. None of us start here and just end up there. There's always bumps in the road, and the bumps in the road do allow for that increased growth. And the same is true with our mental health. I think we have this perception that we should always be happy and we should always be well. And that's not the case. Various things happen and you can't always predict them. I can't tell you how many veterans I've worked with who deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan, and they said, I knew Joe or David would struggle.
Yeah.
In theater, but I never thought it would be me. And then when they got home, they were the ones having nightmares. They were the ones struggling. They were the ones really hypervigilant and having difficulty in their relationships. And that idea that it was them was hard for them to overcome because they signed up for it. They were absolutely on board. They just didn't know that they would be the ones to struggle. And that is okay. The message, if anything, here is not knowing is also part of the process. That's how you find out. And so what else is there to find out? So experiences might have impacted you in a way you didn't anticipate. So what can we learn from them? How do we still move forward? What can I learn about myself? And what can I learn about others? What can I do differently so that I can sleep at night, so that aren't dodging shrapnel when it's not coming at me?
Right. No. Yeah, it's really sad. It's tragic, but there are answers, right? Everybody has something can help.
Yes.
If you hit a person with five or six different options, there's a good chance one of them is going to work, right? And if not,
Yes.
you go to five or six other options, but
Yes.
something can help everybody
Yes.
and figure out what that something is for that person at that
Yeah,
time.
I love that as even a final message. There are five or six or 10 or 12 options. We do have our favorite options for any sort of mental health issue or substance use issue, but there are multiple ways you can approach, an individual can approach um, whatever condition they might be struggling with, and work with somebody, find out what the options are, talk with somebody to go over what those options are, and then choose what works best for you.
No, a lot of times people ask, how do you be a SEAL or how do you be a mountain climber or a runner or triathlete or
Yeah.
something. And I met Dave Scott, one of the top triathletes in the world, and I
Uh-huh.
asked him before he won his first Ironman, before he became King of Kona, I said, Dave, how do you stay in such great shape? He said, well, I
Uh-huh.
just work out every day of the year. And then I got a light bulb, okay, I'm going to do that. So I did that for a little over 20 years. I never took a
Yeah.
day. But
Yeah.
then after getting all these questions for decades now, how do you become a SEAL, for instance? I took Dave's advice, but I expanded on it. I said, okay, all you have to do is four things.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, do something to make yourself stronger. And don't
Mm-hmm.
expect someone to hand you the workout schedule on a silver platter. You figure it out. If you can do 120 push-ups today, do 122 tomorrow. But just do something to make yourself stronger every day.
Okay.
And every day, do something to make yourself faster. If you want to go to Buds, you got to do fartleks, you got to do hill works, you got to do speed work, you got to work out in the pool, sprints and running. But
Uh-huh.
just get faster every day and record all this.
Uh-huh.
And more importantly, every day do something to make yourself smarter. If you do want to be in the SEALs, learn what happened in World War II and Korea and Vietnam and the Gulf War and Afghanistan, Iraq, and learn to shoot and learn to dive and learn to parachute. Just get
Mm-hmm.
smarter each and every day. And
Mm-hmm.
then the best of the four is the fourth one is every day just do something good for somebody because the best leaders I ever met, all they cared about were their teammates. And they just cared about the team and the mission. They never cared about themselves. But because we knew they gave everything to the team, we
Mm-hmm.
cared about that person. We did everything we could to help that person along. I
Mm-hmm.
think a really, really good team is do everything for the team, focus in on mission success, don't be selfish. And then everybody sees that and everybody wants to support you. And that I think is an ideal situation in a team. And,
Yeah.
and just always every day, like if I'm talking to a 14-year-old, when you do something good for somebody, go help the man next door empty his garbage or
Yeah.
go help your mother do dishes. But every day do something good for somebody because then when you go to selection, you could just be the fastest and the strongest and the smartest, but the teammate everybody wants because you're so
Yeah.
used to helping people.
Yeah.
And then I just took Dave's advice and expanded upon it to faster,
Yeah.
stronger, smarter, and do something good for somebody. It just makes a good teammate. And then doing something good for somebody might be just listening and trying to understand that, have an empathy that this person has a problem. My good friend here is facing a problem. I need to listen and then offer up any advice I can and not be
Mm-hmm.
judgmental or anything like that, and just to be a listener and be there. Because if not, if I turn my back and just say, ah, he'll be okay,
Mm-hmm.
something wrong can happen. And it's up
Yeah.
to us to help our teammates and our families and everybody else we're around. I think we owe it as people to always be there for other people.
I mean, I just feel so lucky to be able to sit and talk with you today. I think this was just wonderful
Well,
um, to hear your perspective on life. You're an amazing human for sure, and I really want to call attention to what you just said. Those four things. If all of us were focused on doing those every day, what a world this would be. So every day, focus on doing something to get a little stronger, something to get a little smarter, something to get a little faster. Those fartleks, you got to do speed work, whether you want to or not. You got to do
yeah,
that speed work, and
yeah.
then every day do something kind for somebody else. I think that's sorry. I think that's just an amazing lesson.
Well, thanks, Tracy. I really enjoy. I could listen to you all day long. I know you've helped so many people, and it's a real pleasure getting to talk to you.
You too. We'll have to do this again. We'll do round two.
Okay, that'd be fine. I look forward to it.
Thank you. Okay, so welcome to Choosing Help. Thank you all for joining us today. And if you are struggling with a mental health or a substance use issue and you want to get additional resources, you can get some of those at our website, choosinghelp.com. If you want to look up more on Don Mann or read some of his work, he's amazing. And I think all of us were very lucky to have him here with us today. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Thank you.